Good morning, everybody. It's Graham again from Unearthed for the next episode of Detecting Talk, or Metal Detecting Talk, as we like to call it. Now, this has been on my agenda to do a short film regarding the quirkiness, strangeness, and the outright weirdness of metal detecting. Now, you may be watching this now and thinking, what is he going to be talking about here? This is coming away from everything similar that we've done in the past, and it's going to be I'm going to start relating on my own experiences about the quirky and weird world of detecting. Now, some of you may have picked up on one of my previous videos, maybe 3 or 4 months ago now, when I talked about the X factor in detecting, as we call it, or I call it. But I've held back about talking about it because it's very difficult to get into words, I think. So I'm going to try my best. So you guys, I need you to stay with me on this. And if you think it's a bit odd and a bit quirky, let me know. Let me know in the comments below. That's what it's all about, opening that little bit of debate up. And I guess everybody's opinion and ideals are not the same as mine or anybody else's, but I'm going to try my best. Now, I've been detecting many years, probably too long to care thinking about. It's been 30 odd years, 38 years possibly. And ever since I was young, I always thought there was something different about the hobby. So for example, before I found something in a field, I would get, sometimes, not always, but sometimes I would get an overwhelming feeling that something was going to come up. So for example, I'd walk onto a particular field one day and I'd think to myself, got a good feeling about this today. I think something's going to come up. And I start thinking gold or silver. Very shortly afterwards, a gold or silver coin or artifact or whatever would turn up. Now, this happened frequently, and it also happened on many occasions travelling. So I'd be in a car, maybe travelling a couple of hours down the motorway to a particular site, and I would say to my detecting friends that were with me at the time, well, you haven't found a Celtic coin for a season or two. A couple of hours later, Celtic coin would turn up. Or it may be, I found a medieval ring brooch for a few seasons. A couple of hours later, yeah, you've guessed it, a medieval ring brooch would turn up. Or it could be countless artifacts or coins. I haven't found a James I shilling or James I sixpence in 2 or 3 years. A couple of hours later, one would turn up. Now, you could put that down to coincidence, complete coincidence, if it happened once or twice, or a handful of times. But when it continuously happens, there's got to be more out there to it. Now, some of you guys are going to shake your head and say, listen, it's just coincidence, and it probably is, but isn't it weird how many times we walk on fields, start thinking about a particular find or object or artifact, and that day it turns up? It's odd. It's so strange. I remember reading an article in one of the magazines years and years ago about a guy that had a similar experience where he was detecting, started thinking about Roman brooches or particular Roman artifacts or coins. Within a day or two he'd be finding them. It's just odd. Now, I don't know if it happens to some of you guys out there. It probably doesn't, or it may do. Let me know if it does. Let me share your experiences. It'd be interesting to know if what I experience in the field, some of you guys also do. Another one is, how do I put this? I can walk on a field on a particular day and automatically or right away I will feel either I'm going to find something today, I've got a really positive feeling about today, and 9 times out of 10 I will find something semi-desirable, something collectible, sometimes something rare, something I've been looking out for finding for a long time. And also the opposite can happen. I can walk on a particular bit of land and I'll look around, I'll scan around the land, I ain't going to find anything today. I just have that overwhelming, sinking feeling that today it ain't going to happen. And you know what? 9 times out of 10 when I get that feeling, it doesn't happen. So Saturday just gone at the weekend, travelling down a few hours down the motorway to a particular site that's been very, very kind to us in the past. Do you know what? I got on that field 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning, right through to 5 o'clock tea time, and I struggled all day. I couldn't get past that mental barrier of thinking something good's going to come up. It was just broken bits. I was struggling. I couldn't get into it. I just had that negative feeling that something wasn't right. I was testing new products, and maybe that took my mind off it. I was trying to do a short film for people to see if how things worked and what was coming up and everything else for this channel, for our YouTube channel, and it just didn't click into place. I mean, I knew walking on the on the semi-rough plough to the hot spots on that particular field that it wasn't going to happen. And guess what? It didn't happen. So the frustration was pretty much on its highest notch when I got back to the car at tea time. I was thinking, God, I knew that wasn't going to happen. Next week when I go out, it could be completely different. It's odd. I just get these feelings. I know when it's going to happen. So for example, another one. Some of you guys will cast your mind back to September, October last year, when I found that very, very desirable King Stephen and Matilda penny, which is, it's a rare coin. It's a desirable coin. It's probably one of the rarest. It's got to be in the top 3-4 rarest hammered silver coins I found in all the years of detecting. Now, what's weird about that is this. The particular field that I was detecting on when I found it, I hadn't been on that for a dozen years since. So for over a decade, I kept well away from that field. And the reason was there was other fields around it which were a bit busier, more finds coming up in particular areas. We just dismissed it. I went on it, like I said, 12 years ago, found a half decent coin off it, and that was it. So we've dismissed it. But the week before I found that coin, I started thinking about that field. It's in the middle of nowhere. Very rare we even drive past it, never mind detect on it. And all of a sudden I started thinking about going on that field to detect. Odd. Something was drawing me to detect on that field that day. I'm absolutely convinced of it. Why else would I get that feeling? Every day for that week, I've got to get back on that field. Got to get back on it. There's got to be something good on it. Went on it. A few hours was, first few hours were quiet. Mid-afternoon that turned up, and a Roman brooch to boot. How bizarre. I mean, again, you can put it down to complete coincidence, but why would I start thinking about that field a week before I made that spectacular find off it? It's just, you just can't make it up. So there's a quirky side to this hobby. I'm convinced of it. There's something else extra that goes on, and it's like superstition. I would say I'm 60% non-superstitious, but there's a 40% part of me that is. So for example, when it comes to detecting, I pretty much are superstitious. So if I'm detecting for a particular season and I start finding plenty of nice things, what jumper am I wearing? Oh, it's my Unearthed hoodie. Got to keep wearing that Unearthed hoodie. So every time I go detecting, I'll wear my favourite t-shirt underneath my favourite hoodie, or my lucky hoodie as I call it, then my jacket. I've got to have all that in line when I go out detecting to make sure I find the stuff. And 9 times out of 10, it does. When I don't have it on, or I forgot to put it in the wash, and it's not available that weekend, and I'll put something else on, don't seem to find as much. Isn't it weird? So I have my lucky jumper, I have my lucky t-shirt, I always wear them. Make sure they're clean for that particular day's detecting. Work it out, folks. Isn't it weird? Just again, probably just weirdness and coincidence, but that's the side of detecting, or the world I'm living in at the moment, detecting wise, and I've lived in it for years and years. Even when I was a kid, I always used to have the ability to find things. So I'd be walking down the street in the 1970s. There's a little kid in a pair of shorts and a $6 million man t-shirt on, without a care in the world. And all of a sudden in my mind, I'd be thinking, I'm going to find some money today. Guess what? £1 note rolling around in the gutter. or a bundle of notes been dropped by somebody somewhere. Even found one in 5 minutes before I found it, I thought about I was going to be finding money. I had that overwhelming feeling that I was going to find it. Hammering down with rain as a kid, little coat on, running to the community centre. There's a puddle outside the community centre with a £5 note lying in it. Happened up loads of times. Loads and loads of times. So it's odd. It's a weird ability and a weird feeling that you have that you're going to find something. And it happens to me all the time. I know when I'm going to find something good, or I don't know when I'm going to find something. I just have that overwhelming feeling. Now, I'm sure there's, like I said, there's this quirky side. And some of you guys may come across this, the superstitious side of it. You've got to have things in line, you've got to have things in place. A lot of you will dismiss it and think he's talking a load of he's a madman, he's losing his marbles. But I'm being honest with you, that's how it is. Now, I always remember reading an article in one of the detective magazines when they were worth reading, in my opinion, about a gentleman that found a hoard of gold coins. Now, I can't remember his name. I think it was it Demon Falcon? Jeremy? You guys will probably know. Some of you guys out there watching this video will say, yeah, it was him. But there was a guy with a name similar to what I've just said who found a hoard under a tree of gold. I think it was either gold guineas or early gold sovereigns. And ever since he found that particular hoard, he had nothing but bad luck. So there was things happening in his life after that wasn't good. And he put it down. I think there was deaths in the family, possibly. I mean, if I'm wrong, I do apologise for saying that. But there was things like that going on, real bad luck. And he put that down to finding that hoard. Make of that what you will. It might be a complete load of hocus pocus. Absolute rubbish. Then again, me personally, there's some out there. There's definitely something that goes on. I remember a guy here on the west coast of Cumbria that used to detect the beaches here regular, as did quite a lot of other elderly gentlemen of the time in the 70s and the 1980s. And when we were kids, of course, that was our playground. We used to go down the beach to do a bit of fishing and adventuring, and of course detecting came along. Started detecting alongside these guys, and the story I always remember was one of them that found a black cat. Now, it was an artifact of a black cat with two stones in either eye that shone, and they put it down to an ancient find. Whether it was or not, it could have been modern, who knows, but it had some sort of witchcraft linked to it. And when I say it had witchcraft linked to it, the guy that found it had nothing but bad luck since the day he unearthed it. And he had deaths in the family. He even seen strange dark figures in his room or following him. He turned around, there'd be nothing there. He had a whole host of bad luck, lost his job, ill health, and he put it down to this black cat that he found. Now, what he did with it was he went and reburied it. He threw it, when I say threw it, he reburied it in roughly the same areas where he found it. And to my knowledge, because we know where it is in Sandy Gap, which is an area of the West Coast beach called Sandy Gap, which has produced a lot of gold rings for the beach detectorists over the years. That black cat, to my knowledge, is still buried down there somewhere. I roughly know where it is, but I'm keeping well away from it. So it just shows you, and these superstitions and these quirky finds, or these doom-mongering finds that people make from time to time. So when you're a kid and you've got your imagination and everything going on in your mind growing up, sort of took a hold of us. Well, God, we've got to be careful what we're going to be digging. There could be all sorts out there, that gives you bad luck, sort of thing. So keep away from that. If you suspect something's sinister, throw it back in the ground or rebury it or that kind of thing. So it'll be interesting to know if any of you guys have ever dug anything up and reburied it. I certainly haven't done that, but I know some people may have. The nearest thing I ever found to something being reburied was a pair of false teeth, silver brace with a set of false teeth, Victorian. I didn't like it. I reluctantly took it home, but I should have probably reburied it, but I didn't. So that's the talk is based now on this quirky side of detecting. So it'll be interesting to see if some of you guys out there have similar experiences, you can probably sense by this film that I'm a little bit uncomfortable about talking about it because it doesn't roll off the tongue. You know, there's all sorts in there trying to get out, but I can't think of the words to say and sort of put it into a nutshell. It's just an odd hobby. There's all sorts of weirdness that goes on. You know, some of these artifacts and coins have been buried the best part of 2,000 years. Who knows what weird stuff went on with them? It's just odd. So leave some comments, folks, if you found anything weird and you want to share your experiences. Please do. I'd be interested to know. But mark my words, whether you take it as advice or you dismiss it, there is something quirky and odd about this hobby. Absolutely 100%. So there you go. Interesting stuff. Superstition. Getting the feeling that you're going to make a find before it actually comes up. Time after time. Can't be coincidence. Happens too many times. Make of it what you will. Moving on, folks, very quickly. Excuse me. If you remember some of my earlier videos, we talked about one in particular, and it was titled The Dreaded Green Waste, or the metallic waste problem. Since then, there's been all sorts of interesting things going on around the fight against green waste and metallic waste, as we call it now. And again, William Hargreaves from the Northwest, NCMD guy, he's been doing a lot of great work around bringing the green waste issue to the forefront. And he got in touch with me a few weeks ago with a hotline number for the Environment Agency. So if you're detecting on land that you suspect or know that it's littered with green waste, whether it's been on there historically or it's only just turned up, there is a hotline number, folks. So you can ring the Environment Agency on this particular number, what I'm going to give to you now, and report the illegal spreading of green waste on particular land, farms, whatever. Now, some of you are going to say, oh, I don't want to do it. I'm going to get people into trouble. You're not going to get people into trouble because A, it's illegal to do it, to spread it like they are spreading it in places. Some of the farmers and landowners don't even know it's going on there. And what have you got to lose? You can't detect on that farm anymore because it's absolutely gone. It's ruined. You'll never be able to detect on it again. And what you're doing, you're thinking of the future, our futures and our children's futures and so on and so forth. This stuff shouldn't be going into crops and the food chain. It's as simple as that. It's a no-brainer. And I know some of these environmental guys out there and these environmental agencies and bodies will be horrified when they see the sort of stuff that's going in farmers' fields on a weekly, monthly basis. I'm convinced of it. So in my eyes, you're not doing anything wrong. What you're basically doing is safeguarding the fields and the land and the countryside against the illegal tipping of waste. It's as simple as that. So the hotline number, folks, for the green waste is 0800 807 060. So that's 0800 807 060. And that's the Environment Agency hotline for green waste. Now, what I will say is, before I go, only ring it if you're convinced that there's green waste on there. It's not, don't ring it if you think it could be, it couldn't be. Is it a bit of farm scrap? Has it been on there, spread off the farmers when he might have had a bit of a bonfire going on that particular area of the field. You've got to make sure that you're not wasting people's time by ringing it up and then they find, actually, it isn't green waste. So ring it up, they'll give you some advice, they'll ask you some questions. I've already rang it about a particular farm that we used to detect on. The farmer doesn't know it's on there, so he's horrified, and they'll have to work out, the contractors that have spread it on will have to work out some way of getting it off. Tons of it, horrific. So do your bit. And I have to tip my hat to a lot of these people that are fighting the good fight against the green waste, because if it wasn't us detectorists doing, who else would do it? They'd just continue to get away with it. It's wrong. It's fundamentally wrong. It shouldn't be doing. It shouldn't be happening in this day and age. So there's a number. Good luck if you're going to ring it, and I hope you get some positive results, which you probably will. And rolling on to the next video, there's going to be a couple of good videos coming up soon that we're going to be doing, our films. I'm going to start calling them films rather than videos. I think videos is old hat. There's going to be a couple of good films coming out from us on our Unearthed channel in the next few weeks, so watch this space. Some of you guys will find it very interesting. And happy hunting, detecting if you're out this coming weekend. Okay, remember the weird, quirky world of detecting. Let's have some of your comments and feedback. Take care.